Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to Jesus Christ Prison Ministry. Today, we are interviewing Moni Dominic. She has quite a story to tell. Born in India, came to the United States at a later age, and didn't find Jesus until much later in her life. Now she just loves the Lord. And now, we would like to introduce you to her and let her share her story with you. Hello, Moni.
Hello, Ron.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Are you ready to tell your story, your testimony to all these wonderful people?
Yes, I am.
All right. So, why do you want to share your testimony?
I want to share my testimony to help other abused women to know Jesus, and they don't have to be ashamed or embarrassed anything what happened to them, so they will feel the power of God to share their testimony.
Moni, when did you start searching for God and why?
I started searching for God when I was 5 years old. I wanted to know who is God, why so many sufferings in the world. I saw so many people suffering when I was growing up, so that made me to search God.
Now tell us something about your family.
I had a rough childhood, I can say, because a lot of things happened in my family. My dad was mistaken for somebody else, and he was beaten to death practically. He was in and out of hospital almost all his life. That was a big strain on my family. And my mother's first child was bitten by a snake, and that child died in my mom's arms. So that affected her life entirely, and she was in and out of hospital and doctors and everywhere. She was going from one place to another for healing, and the loss of that child affected her life entirely, and she was not close to any one of us.
How did your father support your family?
My father had a small business in the village, and he supported us from the income from the business.
What kind of business?
It was a small grocery store, not like the ones in America. It is a small grocery store where we sell the basic things that we need everyday life.
Okay, so people came from the village to your store in order to purchase their food and other commodities that they would need?
Yes.
Very good. You told me that you were raised a Catholic in a Catholic family.
Yes.
So tell us your experience in the Catholic Church.
In the Catholic Church, we go to see the Mass every day, every Sunday. Then we say the Rosary, and we had statues of all the dead people called saints in the church, and we prayed to them. And Mary was the main person in the church, so there was not much about Bible teachings or who is Jesus or salvation or Jesus will come and we will go to heaven or punishment is there for sins. All these things were never taught. I was never taught anything about the Bible, just a rosary and see the Mass. That was the main thing we did in the Catholic Church.
Now, how many brothers and sisters did you have? You all went as a clan to the Catholic Church?
Yes, we all were raised in the Catholic Church. When I was growing up, there were only Catholic Church there, and Hindus and Muslims. So everybody who are Catholic go to Catholic Church.
All your brothers and sisters?
Yes.
How many was that?
3 brothers and 3 sisters. 3 brothers and 2 sisters.
What did you do after college?
I was a biology major.
What did you want to do with it?
I didn't want to do anything with it. That is, the college was near my house, so we went to college. There were no women who were working at that time, so mainly at that time women went to college for a man to marry them, because if you have education, the men will not ask too much money for dowry. So that is the reason mainly at that time women went to college, because there were not any women that were working at that time.
So in your culture at that time, women were basically housewives.
Yes.
Took care of the children.
And the family.
And the man.
And the in-laws.
And the in-laws. All right. So the family was an extended family.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So, what did you do after college?
After college, I decided that I want to find a job to help my dad because my dad suffered a lot. So I want to find a job. The village I was living, there is not many jobs I can find. So I went to live in a city with my sister, so I can look for a job and um, support my dad. That was the only reason I left my home, to help my dad.
Were you able to find a job in your town, or did you have to go someplace else to find work?
I went to look for a job where my sister was living. She was living in a city. So I stayed with my sister and looked for a job. But I found out that when a woman who is abused or low self-esteem go to look for a job, the employer want to use the woman. There are many, millions of women in India are abused by employers when they look for a job. They don't want to give the job unless the women tell them women will do what they want to do. Otherwise, they will throw you out. That many times I had that experience.
So, a lot of employers were not looking for women to do the work. They were looking for women that they could use and abuse for themselves.
Yes.
Understand?
So that is the reason I want to share my testimony to help other women. They don't have to sell their body to be loved or accepted. When they find Jesus, Jesus will provide for them. And I want to help such women. Today there are millions of women in India who live like that. I want to help them. That is the reason I want to share my testimony.
Now, you married a little later in life. What was that like?
It was embarrassing because when a woman don't get married and by the age of 25 or 26, the society will look down upon them. Then they will find out what is wrong with her, and people will talk behind your back, and people will ask all the time why you are not married. For me, it was hard for me because always people will ask my sister why I am not married. So I just was feeling bad for my sister about not getting married. And women are not married because the dowry. The men come to see you, ask for a lot of money, and if you don't have that money, they don't marry. Even though you have education, still you have to pay a lot of money, and we didn't have money to give to the family, the bridegroom. So my marriage was delayed because of that, and I could not get a job, and the situation was really bad. So it was hard for me not to be married until I was 36.
Your father owned property, and you received an inheritance?
Yes.
And what happened to that property?
When I was with my sister, I got the inheritance from my dad. So my sister suggested me to buy a land for in my name. So when somebody comes to marry me, I will have something in my name. So we went and bought a piece of land that was sold by somebody. So after some time, we found out that the man who sold the property made false documents and sold the same land to so many people. So
You lost it all.
I lost it all. I lost all that money my dad left for me, and I still today I did not have the land or the money, so it's all gone.
Your sister took you to see a witch doctor?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because people told me there is something wrong with me. Everything I do, everything I do in my life is with so many obstacles. I cannot find a job. No man wants to marry me. So people told me that there is something wrong with me. So they suggested that I should see a witchcraft person who does the witchcraft. So we went there, paid him a lot of money. So he told me that somebody has done in my village. Somebody has done something bad to me, so I will not succeed in my life. I will be miserable all my life. So he cast out demons from me, and that will make me feel good, and I will find a husband and get a good job. But nothing happened. We paid all the money, and the money is gone. Then another time, a Muslim man, my sister took me to a Muslim man who is doing the same thing. He told me there is some bad luck in my life, so he gave me something to take to the cemetery, and bury it in the cemetery where people are buried, so the bad demons from the grave that is haunting me will stop haunting me. So he gave me a lot of things to go to the cemetery and bury it in the cemetery when nobody is watching. And one day, I have to go there 7 days. I went there first day, my sister came with me, and she was afraid to be alone in the cemetery at night. So then she did not come afterwards. But the other 6 days, I went alone in a cemetery to bury these things. I made a hole near each dead body and bury this thing there, and looking everywhere, somebody is watching or somebody is coming out of the grave. I was so afraid. If a leaf fall from the tree, I would have died. I was so afraid to be alone in a cemetery doing this thing, but I was doing this to make me feel good. I was tired of all the things happening to me, so I want to be free, whatever is haunting me.
Did it work?
No, it did not.
Now you felt that life was not worth living. You had some thoughts of suicide or...
Yes, because of all the things happening to me, all this witchcraft and all these things, nothing is working, no marriage, no job, so many misfortune in my way. So I thought life is not worth living. There is something really wrong with me. So if I die, maybe my sister at least will live happy. So I really wanted to end my life many times.
How long were you with your sister and her family?
13 years. I was with my sister for 13 years.
Tell us the story of how you met your husband.
At last, finally, my husband, who was in America, came looking for a bride. His sister and my sister live in the same city. So through one mutual friend, he talked about this man, and we arranged the marriage through this broker.
And why did he choose you?
He was in America. He came for 1 month vacation. He advertised his family advertised in the paper, and he got a lot of responses. And within that 1 month, he met about 15 girls. He decided to marry me because he thought I am taller than all other girls he met. So he was about 6 feet tall, so he wanted a tall girl. Then he thought that I was not married, so he will do me a favor by marrying me. That's why he married me.
But also, you were educated, and he appreciated that?
Yes, he was happy that I had college education and a degree.
When you married your husband, you went to live with his family?
Yes.
And how did they treat you?
They were not happy. They were not happy that I married him because they didn't get the dowry. They also asked for dowry. And the main thing in the Catholic religion is we live by all these customs that is followed by all other people. So it is not about God or loving people. It is about the customs. So my sister-in-law died immediately after my husband married me. So the sister-in-law was here for treatment. They brought her to America, and the doctors told them that she will not live longer. But she died after my marriage. So they told me I brought bad luck to the family. That is why she died. And so many things they were accusing me of that I was not aware of.
How long did you live with your husband's family before coming to America?
I lived with them maybe for a month, not more than that.
And how did you work it out? What was the circumstances that brought you to America?
So after our marriage, my husband came to America after 1 month. So in the meantime, I was in India for about 6 months more. I was working there, so I saved some money, and I had enough money to buy the ticket. When I got the visa, I called my husband to tell him that I am coming, and I booked the ticket. I am coming by such and such flight. Then I had to make a collect call. Then he hung up the phone. He didn't want to accept the call, or he didn't want me to come here because his mother told him not to bring me here. So he hung up on me. But I found the money to make a phone call, and I called him and just told him that I am coming by such and such flight. So hoping that he will come to pick me up. So I came like that.
So tell us about your trip to America, how you felt about that, and life with your husband.
My trip to America was, God, I don't want to ever repeat that trip. After my husband left, I found out that I was pregnant. So when I left India, I was 5 months pregnant. And I threw up from India to San Francisco all the way. And the journey took about 3-4 days because I had to stop in many places. It was not a continuous flight, so I had to stop in many airports, and I did not have a drink of water. Nothing in my stomach. Everything, even a drop of water, if I drink, I throw up. I threw up all the way. So I did not even think that I will make it. So after coming here, my husband's brother picked me up from the airport, and I came to his house, and we started living. And then I found out that things are not better than in India. Things were really bad. I found out that he was an alcoholic. He had a problem with alcohol. And then I did not know anything about his background or childhood or anything. We didn't talk any of those things. After I came here, I found out that he had a lot of things happened in his childhood. As a young child, he lost his father, and then his mother remarried and sent him to a Catholic boarding school. He was in the boarding school. So a lot of things happened to him in the boarding school. So he didn't have any self-esteem, and he suffered a lot as a child. So because of that, he started drinking, and a lot of abuse in the house. And I'm new here. I am pregnant. I have no family, no friends. I'm all alone in a new country, and living with an alcoholic husband was very hard. I didn't have one person to turn to, and I didn't know anything about living with an alcoholic because none of my family was an alcoholic, so I didn't know the effect of alcohol in a life.
Was your husband happy that you were pregnant?
No, he was not. He didn't want a child. I think that was the reason he was more, he started drinking more, because he wanted a partner to drink. When he drinks, he likes company. So he was actually looking for a partner to be with him, to enjoy his drinking and singing song and give company to him. That's the reason he married. He told me that. The child was just in his way, so they were not very close.
Your husband was born in India also, and then he came to America because he had a job as an engineer. Is that correct?
Yes.
He told you, I think you told me at one time, that he basically needed a housewife?
A maid.
A maid to take care of him.
Yeah.
When you came to America, how much English did you know?
I learned English in India as a second language, so I was able to speak English when I came here.
Now you're in America with a husband who wants a maid. You're here pregnant in a strange country. You don't know the culture. You don't know how things work here. And you're about ready to give birth. How did that work out?
When it was time for my delivery, my husband admitted me in the hospital. I still remember, it was on a Wednesday morning around 9:30. He admitted me in the hospital, and the doctor said time was not come. So my husband went home, and I was there until evening in pain, and nobody was there with me, just me, and just me alone in the labor room, and nobody was there. My husband, when it is in the evening, the doctors found out that I need a C-section. So the doctor came and asked me, where is my husband? Then I told him he went home. So they had to call him from home to come and sign the permission to have the C-section. So that was hard. After the C-section, he waited. He waited to see the baby. He saw the baby. I didn't even know what the baby was, a girl or a boy. After the delivery, I want to find out whether I have a boy or a girl, and I could not talk. The sound was not coming. I was not completely into my conscience. So I was waiting somebody to tell me whether I had a boy or a girl. And I wanted to ask somebody whether I have, but the voice is not coming. So finally, I think my husband told me I have a girl. So that is how I know I had a girl, and then he went home.
You're in a strange country now. You have a little girl to take care of. How helpful was your husband in all of this?
Nothing. That is not our culture. In our culture, men don't do that kind of thing. So I don't blame him. We were not raised that way. Women do the things, all these things. Women have their babies when they have the babies, they go to their family's house and their mother and sister-in-law take care of them. So men don't do that kind of things. Men don't stay home or take care of the baby or help in any way. He just went to work next day. That was the custom. So he didn't stay home to help me or take care of the baby. So I remember I had a C-section, so I was in so much pain I could not get up from the bed or take the baby. But after a week, I got up from the bed and started getting from water from the bathtub to bathe the baby. I know that I had to give bath to the baby, so I got up from the bed and I could not walk to the bathroom to get water. I crawled down on my knees with a cup in my hand and go and get water with that cup and then come back crawling to pour water in the tub so I can give bath to the baby. It was hard.
You had no family that could help you.
No.
Okay, so you're all alone in America with a man who is not interested in his culture, has never prepared him to be a father and to help. So you have to draw the water. You're in such pain because of your C-section, and there's no family members to help.
But I managed.
Moni, tell me about your life with your husband and how the alcohol affected your lives, what he thought of the child.
My husband was an alcoholic that he lived for alcohol. He went to work 5 days a week, and weekend he drinks all holidays and all festival days, and everything was with alcohol. So it was hard for me. I didn't know how to drive. I didn't have any family. I didn't know how to go any place, and he just practically lock the house and take the key and go to work, so I won't get out of the house. It was like I was in a prison. So life was hard for me and my daughter and husband. Her dad has no relationship with each other, and he never talked to our child, and she was only so lonely. At the age of 5, my daughter told me, "Mom, if you don't leave Dad, I will commit suicide." She was that depressed. So I am like that too. So I many times thought of ending my life and kill that child so we both can be free from all these things. Life was hard, really hard, because I don't have one human being to talk to. We never communicated. He went to work and just come back, eat dinner, go to his room and sleep and close the door, and that is it. We never talked one word to each other. Just when I tell him I need grocery, he bought the grocery. That's it.
Was your husband abusive?
He was not abusive. He did not beat me up. It was verbal abuse. It was alcohol. He was a good man. I still think he was a good man in his heart. He knowingly will not hurt anybody. He will not even kill a fly. He was a good man in his heart. It is alcohol that destroyed our family, my child's life and his life and everybody's life. I want all women or men who drink alcohol, get help. You are destroying your life and your family's life. It is not worth it. Please listen to my story, and if it changes one person to give up alcohol, my story is worth it.
Did you have a driver's license?
My husband let me take driving lessons after 3-4 years. I think after I came here, I got my license about 5 years after I came here. So when I had my permit, he won't take me any place to drive and get my experience. So because we cannot put the baby in the car and drive, so he hardly ever took me to any place to improve my driving skills. One day when he was sleeping, I took the car and went to the nearby grocery store. I didn't have any money with me. Just I want to take the child out of my house. I thought she will die sitting inside the house like me. So after just walking through the store, we didn't buy anything, no money. So I came out of the store. Then I found out the car is not there in the parking lot where I parked the car. Then I knew my husband came and took the car. So he came on a bicycle and took the car home. So when I reached home, I found out that the car is there, and he started yelling at me and grabbed the child and threw against the wall and getting mad at me and calling me all the names. And he was very abusive that day. Actually, I saw the worst side of him that day because I took the car. So next day he went to the store and bought a chain and locked the car. We had two cars. We had two cars in the driveway, but I was not allowed to touch any. He locked the steering wheel and the door handle together with the chain and locked it. So I will never touch the car again.
Moni, is Sheila your only child?
Yes, she is my only child, but I had a miscarriage. When my child was 5 years old, my husband let me go to India. He bought the ticket and I was happy, and I begged him and cried and begged. When my child was 5 years old, he told me I can go, and he bought the ticket. But the night before, he got drunk as usual and threw away my ticket and passport in the toilet. So next day when I woke up, I went to the toilet. There lies the passport and the ticket, and the ticket is broken into pieces, so it went through the drain. But the passport did not go through the drain. It was still in the toilet. So I took the passport and dried, and then I asked him. He didn't even know. He was drunk when he did all these things. So I told him to get the ticket, and he was mad. Why did you do this? And he was mad at me. So I went and cried to one of my neighbors. Thank God for such neighbors. He was not even a Christian, but he knew about my life and my life story. So he felt sorry for me. So he told my husband, let her go to India, and she wants to see her family, buy the ticket. And he went and got the ticket for me. So I was able to go. He took me to the airport, left me there. When the plane comes, you can go. And he went home. And then I almost missed the flight. I didn't know. This is the first time I'm going to the airport by myself. So the flight was already packed and everybody they were about to take off. Then I heard my name calling. Then I had to go a long way to the terminal to find my plane, and I had luggage, and Sheila was with me, 5-year-old child, and we were running and crying, and they were closing the door when I reached there. Thank God they let me in, and I went. It was a good trip. I was able to see my family, and my family was able to see Sheila, so it was a blessing.
How long did you stay in India?
I stayed in India 3 months.
3 months?
Yes.
And then you came home. Was it you didn't want to leave your family?
I didn't. But I had to leave.
Okay. And so you came home, and then what happened in your life?
When I reached India, maybe after 1 month, I found out that I was pregnant. So I told my sister. My sister took me to the doctor and found out I was pregnant. So my sister told me to have a miscarriage. Then I could not do the miscarriage, not because I am a Christian or anything. I could not do the miscarriage because my child wanted a sibling so much. She always wanted, when she see the neighbors' kids play together, she wanted a sibling, and it broke my heart. My daughter had to live alone. I am getting old, and my husband is old, and we die, and my child will not have a sibling. So I wanted to keep the baby no matter what. I will go through it again, even if it is difficult, but for my child's sake, I want to keep the baby. And I didn't want to do the miscarriage, abortion, and I came back thinking that I can convince him that Sheila needs a sibling, so I can keep the baby, so I will raise the baby. So I came back to tell him, thinking that he will agree.
So how did your husband feel about having another child?
He was not at all happy. He was mad. That is the time he really got out of hand and told everybody. He called everyone of his family, and said, I went to India and got pregnant. It is not his child. And he told me if I keep the child, he will leave me. So he will not live in America if I keep the child. So I had to have the abortion. So he made me to call the hospital and make the appointment for abortion. So I made the appointment and waiting for abortion. In the meantime, on a Sunday, I had a miscarriage. I went to the bathroom. The blood was everywhere. And my husband was at home, and he was mad that because it was a Sunday, he is not drinking. Sunday he cannot drink because he has to go to work on Monday. So he was mad for spoiling his day, and he took me and the child put me in the car and drove 50 miles away to a hospital when there is a hospital nearby. I don't know why he did not take us to the nearby hospital. So he took us to the hospital there, and the baby was crying, and baby saw all the blood in the car, and the baby said, baby was crying, and then he told her he will throw her out if he don't shut up, and he was just mean at that time. And then when I reached the hospital, the first thing I asked the doctors whether they could prove that the child is my husband, and they told me it is too late. So that was another bitter experience.
Sheila is now in school. You told me that there was a car accident you have been involved in?
Yes. The first car, we were involved in 2 car accidents. One was when Sheila was 16, that is when she got the license. Here in America, people get license at the age of 16. So I want my child to have a car, so I bought her a car, and she was going to a friend's house to do the homework, and then she thought it is a 4-way stop, and she stopped at her place and she moved forward. Then another car came, and a cement truck came and hit her behind the driver's side. So the whole windshield was broken to pieces. All the back of the car is gone. Tires were flying in the air, but nothing happened to my child, not even a scratch. And I did not thank God at that time because I was mad at God for wrecking my car. So I was thinking about my car and not about my child. And then when she was in college, she had another accident. We were going someplace together as a family for the first time. We were going somewhere, and then somebody pulled in front of us, and Sheila was driving. Sheila pushed the brake before we hit the car in front of us, and he came in front of us, and he just moved away. Just for a second he came, and Sheila pushed the brake, and he moved away, and I don't know what happened. We hit another 5 cars ahead of us, and there was a domino effect. 5 cars were hit, and our airbags were exploded. So that's why nothing happened to us. Our front of the car and dashboard, everything gone to pieces. But nothing happened to us. We both had airbags, so airbag protected us, and nothing happened, not even a scratch.
You are now divorced from your husband. Tell me how that came about and why.
When Sheila was 10 years old, she had a lot of emotional problems. She was throwing up in school many times. The teachers found out that she's just a piece of skeleton, nothing. She was a bright student. She was doing good in school because I always want my daughter to have a good education, so I made sure that she does good in school. But she was throwing up in school. She didn't make friends and lonely, and the teachers found out that really there is something wrong with her. So they contacted social services agent, and they came to my house and told me they understood my child's life is in danger. So they told me if I stay with him, they'll take our child away. So then I filed for divorce, and he left the country.
Moni, were there what experiences in your life helped to propel you to look for God even stronger?
All because of the poverty and hardship I experienced in my life, and my family and all the neighbors. A lot of people die of starvation and committed suicide, and all those things made me search. Even in my own family, my older brother died of heart attack when he was young, maybe in his late 40s. And my second brother, who is younger to me, his wife committed suicide by hanging from the ceiling fan of the house. And that destroyed my life, my brother's life, and he went through a lot of things in his life, and he had 2 small children at that time. My younger brother is mentally challenged. We 3 sisters were married to kind of abusive people in a way. So I never had peace in my life, and no happiness in my life. So I thought, if there is a God, why people are suffering? So if there is a God, I want to find that God to be happy and peace in my life, and that's why I searched.
What did you do to search for God? What were the paths you took?
To tell you frankly, I knew at the age of 5 I will not find God in the Catholic Church, because none of the things we did in the Catholic Church is from the Bible. Catholic Mass, baby baptism, Holy Communion for kids, prayer to Mother Mary, confession to a priest, and Sunday worship. None of this is in the Bible. So even though I didn't know anything about Sunday worship is wrong, I did not believe anything that was done there, because they put emphasis on only Mary, worshipping Mary and praying to Mary and nothing else. So that made me really want to know who is God. I did not believe anything in the Catholic Church.
So in the United States, were you starting to go from church to church looking?
Yes. Even when I was with my husband, when I got my driving license, I started going to all Sunday churches. I went to Jehovah's Witness, Mormons, Baptist, Lutheran, Nazarene, Methodist, Presbyterian, and there are so many other denominations there. I visited all of them. I did not learn anything from the Old Testament. I did not hear anything about creation. It is only the gospel. So I did not believe in God, because nobody told me there is a controversy between God and devil and who is the devil. None of those things. None of the Old Testament books were taught by any of the churches.
At this time, while you're going from church to church, you have your daughter with you. So you're looking for friendship. You're looking for someone to take an interest in your daughter, who at this time has no father in her life. And you're hoping that a church family will accept you and your daughter into their family.
I was sadly mistaken. All the churches I visited, nobody even asked me which country I am from, where is my family, where I am from, what do I do, nothing about me, nobody asked. Just glad to meet you, come again, that's all I heard. And I wanted somebody to be there for my daughter in case something happens to me. I didn't know if there is a car accident, I can call the insurance company, or somebody will come to pull my car away or something. I didn't know all those things. So I was afraid to go any place, because if there is an accident, who do I call? I didn't have any one person to call. One day, my daughter asked me, Mom, if something happens to you, who do I call? Then I had to tell her, kill yourself, don't live without me, because I didn't have one person to give to my daughter to call for her in case something happens to me.
So in several years of search, going to church, not one church offered a hand, a helping hand, a kind, a courteous come over for dinner, or we would like to know you better?
Nothing. Not one church family ever called me to see how I am doing or invited my daughter. I didn't want a friendship. I wanted someone to have for my daughter and to have a family for my child. And she was desperate. One day she saw a family picture in a Mormon's house, and she looked at the picture and she asked them, can you put my picture in the family? Because she was that desperate. So she laughed at it. That's my family. So I didn't see any love, and this is what I want to tell people. If we have no love in our heart for others who are hurting, we will not enter the kingdom of God. Jesus said, in as much as you did to one of the least of these, you did it to me. Going to church or keeping the 10 Commandments will not save us unless we live it. That's my message today, to tell people to reach out to the brokenhearted who don't have anybody. Others will see Jesus only through our love.
That's right. That's beautiful, Moni. Now, how did you find the truth of the Bible that has brought you such peace?
After my daughter finished high school, she went to college. Then after she left for college, I went to churches here and there once in a while. I was not interested at all for my search, because mainly I was searching to have a family for my daughter. I know I will not get that, so I did not get it. So I was not interested to go to church anymore. Then one day I saw an advertisement in the paper, Bible prophecy teaching in Seventh-day Adventist Church. Then I thought, this is the only church I have not gone, and this is the nearest church to my house, and this is the only one I did not go. So I thought, why not try this also? So I went there. It was a Friday. The meeting was on a Friday evening, so there were few people in the church, and I heard some things that day that I never heard before. It was interesting, so I went there on Saturday. Then a lot of people were there on Saturday, and after the service, they had potluck. So I was sitting across a lady, so I just asked her at that time, why do you come to church on Saturday? Then she said, we keep the Sabbath. I had put in my mouth. I thought it was choking me. I could not believe what I heard. Then I thought these people don't believe in Jesus. They are the Old Testament Jewish people. They don't believe in Jesus. So then I immediately asked, do you believe in Jesus? Then she said, yes, we believe in Jesus. We follow the 10 Commandments. Then I knew I found the Lord. I was searching since I was 5 years old. I immediately told them I want to be baptized, and I was excited. I attended all the meeting. I learned all the Bible prophecies. The burden I was carrying on my head all these years, all the anger and hurt and everything, it just washed away. It just disappeared, and the peace and joy came to my heart at that moment.
In these Revelation series, you learned about prophecies, Bible facts that gave you great joy. Now, when you were in or attending other Protestant Sunday churches, you never heard about the Old Testament. Is that correct?
None of the Old Testament books were ever taught by any church I visited.
They never taught you about prophecies?
Nothing.
So basically, all that you were introduced to was New Testament teaching, but nothing from the Old Testament.
No, I never heard the word Israel, 666, mark of the beast, end time, Jesus will come, nothing. None of those things were taught by any of the churches.
Moni, you are a single mother now with a daughter that you are raising. Tell us the miracle that God wrought in your child's life for not having a father and having a mother who was economically challenged in a strange country that you really didn't know much about. How did your daughter fare in school?
That is the greatest gift of God. Since I was in the Catholic schools, I saw the students were treated bad by the nuns. They treat good kids from rich families well, and the poor kids and who don't study well, who are not smart, they treated bad. So at that time I saw that. I decided if I ever have a child, I will teach my child everything. So I was very much interested into her education, and I made sure that she get good grades, and she was a very, very good student. She finished high school as a valedictorian. She received a National Merit Scholarship at the age of 22. She got 2 degrees from one of the prestigious universities in America. It's all God's blessing, because in Jeremiah 29:13, God says, if you search me, you will find me. So God knew I was searching him all my life. And when I saw all the poverty and hardship there, I wanted to go to a foreign country so much. I wanted to go to a foreign country only to help others. That was my always desire, to help others, not to accumulate wealth for me or anything. I never cared about anything for myself. I want to help others if I can go to a foreign country. I want to find God. I want to serve God and help others. That was my always desire. And God, in Hebrews 11:16, it says, He's a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. So my life, when I look back, it is full of rewards and blessings which I did not see, because I did not get the truth from any churches I visited. My daughter was involved in 2 car accidents, and both times the car is gone, but nothing happened to her and me. One time she was alone, another time I was with her. Both times nothing happened to us. And God gave me everything that I wanted in my life. And that is the message I want to give to people. If we live for others, if our passion is to live for Jesus and spread His 10 Commandments and His truth and show His love to others, God will bless us. We will never be broke if we live for Jesus. He will provide for us. He will care for us. And it says, taste the Lord and He is good. I tasted God like no other. In my life, He blessed me so much. I can count my blessings so much. And that's why I want to tell others to depend only on God. I try to depend on people. People will not be there for you. Only Jesus. Only we can trust Him all the time. He will be there for us. That is the... And another thing I want to share is, God provided for me to do this ministry to help do God's work in advance, because when my husband left after 10 years of marriage, I get his social security and pension. That is enough for me to live. That is why I quit my job. I quit my job to do God's work. So God provided for me in advance to do his work, because he knew I was searching. I will leave everything for him.
So Sheila, by the age of 22, received 2 degrees from a prestigious university. Awesome. And one of those degrees was in
Molecular cell biology and psychology.
molecular biology. Molecular cell biology. Can't even say it, you see. Okay. So God has blessed you. You found the truth. The Lord blessed with your daughter's wonderful education, all paid for by grants.
Yes.
How awesome. And then you wanted to return to the Lord the blessings that He has given to you. So you went back to India, and you were able, tell us how you started your little mission service back there.
When I went to India, I met a pastor who is very passionate about doing God's work, but he doesn't have much financial help. So there he started a tailoring school for poor women, like abused women. There are a lot of abused women there. So he started a tailoring school for battered women. Mostly all of them are poor and from abused homes. So I wanted to help him. I support him whenever I can. So many more girls like me who are abused can find Jesus, and he teaches Bible there, who comes there, and he is reaching out to a lot of people. So that is my passion, to help women like me who are abused.
You provided him with some funding to procure sewing machines. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us how that took about.
So when I went there, they had only 4 machines. So I think now they have about 10 sewing machines. So more girls can come. So that really helped him to reach out to more women.
And this allows the girls to be self-sufficient. They can learn a trade.
Yes.
And support themselves.
Yes.
They don't have to depend on a husband that could leave them, beat them,
Yes.
or abuse them.
Yes.
Eventually, you came in contact with this little ministry?
Yes.
How did that happen?
I quit my job to do God's work, so I was reaching out to people on Facebook. So I found a lot of people on Facebook from all over the world with whom I shared the Sabbath truth and 10 Commandments. And many accepted the Sabbath after through my ministry on Facebook. And then I found a young man by name Jeff. He was on Facebook. He was doing ministry like me. So I contacted him, and so we shared our experiences, and he asked me to come and share my testimony. So it is because of him I came here, and I had the pleasure of meeting you and Jeff and share my testimony, and I thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Well, we thank you, Moni. Is there anything else you would like to say before we close today? You have shared a beautiful testimony of a woman who literally rose up from nothing in a little poverty-stricken Indian village and has now achieved one of the highest pinnacles of the Christian life, living with nothing and giving all that she has to do the Lord's work, helping people in her own village, helping others that have been abused, hurt, orphans, widowed, in any way she can to know the Lord and to better their lives. We thank you, Moni.
One more thing I want to say again is, I am sharing my testimony today to help other women again to speak up. There is nothing to be ashamed of. If we have sinned, it is because we were not taught the truth. We were taught lies, lies after lies after lies, and it took me almost 60 years of church going to believe there is a God and there is an enemy of God who causes pain and suffering. So I want all those who listen to this testimony to speak up. There is nothing to be ashamed of. What we have done, Jesus has shared his testimony. So we can share our testimony too. It is testimony that helps others to bring them to Jesus. We don't have to live in shame. There is nothing to be ashamed of. Any kind of abuse, there is nothing to be ashamed of, and we can forgive them. That is what I learned from my forgiveness to my husband. I was not able to forgive him until I found the truth about God, and now I have only compassion for my husband. I pray for him, and I thank God that he brought me here. So I have so much admiration for him for bringing me here and finding Jesus. If he did not marry me, I would not have found the truth. So I have only admiration for my husband. He went back to India. He married again. He has a wife. I met them, both of them. I gave them a hug. And I am happy that my husband is doing good and he stopped drinking and he's doing good. I pray for them and that God will save him because of that man I found Jesus. So I want that man to be in heaven. And that is my passion, to bring others to Jesus, those who are abused.
So our whole purpose in life isn't just going and sitting in churches. Our purpose is to get out and bring people personally to the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Thank you, Moni, for your testimony.
You are welcome.
Bye-bye.